Hola, y'all. This is Jay with Behind the Grind, the Professional GM Chronicles. I want to welcome you to the this episode, and we are fortunate enough to have Scott in with us here today. Professional game master, whose profile you can see on Start Playing Games. The gentleman has like 1,600 games under his belt. He's been at this for a while, and he's willing to share some of his insights, tricks of the trades, and different things in order to make us better professional gamers. So, if you're enjoying this episode or you like the concept and stuff like that, I want to encourage you to roll a natural 20 with that like button, cast share with your friends, and subscribe to avoid the DM's wrath. Well, I almost pulled that off. So, with that said, Scott, thank you so much for taking time to visit with us today.
Oh, it's great to be here.
All right, I know that you got a lot of experience under your belt, and this is going to be a great experience. I already know, but if you wouldn't mind, just take a little bit of time and tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm like you said, a professional full-time DM, uh, GM, but mostly I'm running D&D. I started playing D&D with the Red Box back in the '80s, and took about a 20-year break and got back into it in about 2008 with the start of fourth edition. And so I had a few different home games that I was running. And when the pandemic came around, uh, I was looking for a way to bring in a little extra money, and I had heard a podcast where the founder of Start Playing was interviewed, and I sort of thought, maybe I wonder if I could do that. And a few months into the pandemic, I gave it a shot, and it got busier and busier until I was able to. In January of 23, I was able to quit my my salaried government job to start doing this full time, and so it's been over 2 years that this
Man,
is
talk about taking a risk on
my
yourself.
sole. Yeah,
That's excellent. What
yeah.
first drew you into tabletop role playing games? And how did you become a game master?
Uh, what first drew me in, you know, back in the back when I was a teenager, there was I was at a family reunion, and there was a cousin who showed the game to me, and during the reunion, so we just sort of disappeared and created characters for a while, and I was just immediately, it was like my brain was on fire. Like, I'd never seen anything like this, and so I always had an interest, and right from the start, I liked the the idea of being the dungeon master, and you know uh, giving other people, uh, trying to give other people that experience of y- you know the brain on fire, where you know going from passive entertainment mediums to an active one where you're creating the story as you go. I
Okay,
guess that's the way I would put it.
very cool. Do you remember the first time you were running a game?
Yeah, but again, I was about 15, and I really only had there was one friend who was into it with me, and we would sort of take turns just running a game for each other. We would both run a couple characters, and it was 15-year-old stuff. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we were obsessed with it, drawing maps on graph paper, and and yeah, so I didn't really run a game for a group of people until 2008, when I started a dads and kids game, where
Okay.
I had a few friends, and
How did that go?
good. Like we did it for probably 3 years
Wow.
until our kids got too busy with their with sports and being teenagers and stuff like that. But there was a few years there where we were doing it pretty regularly.
Okay. Well, since the 2008, what has been your most memorable campaign, and what about it stands out to you?
Um, the the first one in fifth edition where I was running for uh, two couples, friends of mine, and uh, we were. It was only maybe once a month, but we went all the way from 1 to 20, and that took about 6 years at the rate we were playing. But we did. We got all the way to level 20, and um, it was. It started with uh, the, uh, the Pathfinder campaign, the giant based one. I can't remember, but I would, as new books came out, I would sort of bring in new parts of the new campaigns that came out, and so it was a real mix of different published campaigns, and I still, I'm still pretty proud of how we stuck with it for 6 years, and and yeah, pretty big achievement. I still, still have good memories.
I say 6 years is quite an accomplishment to have a game go on that long.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
During that time, did you ever have, or since then, have you ever had a session go off the rails? And if so, how have you handled it?
Um, it depends what you mean by off the rails. Like, if
What does it mean to
off the
you?
rails, well, there's when players throw something at you that you don't expect, and that could happen. And in a case like that, I don't mind just saying, "Okay, I did not know that was going to happen." So I need about 5 minutes, and to sort of collect my thoughts and figure out what the implications of what they've thrown at me, and come up with the direction, and maybe the next map or whatever, and between sessions, sort of recalibrating where the players have taken the game, and players actually like that. They love that feeling of that they've stumped the DM, and and makes them feel clever, and and so people out there, don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to say, you know okay, I did not see that coming. uh you have surprised me, and I just need a few minutes.
Say
And
time out.
that's never turned out badly. Yeah.
That's fair. Very cool. Um, or what has inspired your approach to game mastering? Do you have any role models?
um I definitely some of the actual play campaigns that I've watched. I've taken stuff from those DMs, and back, maybe 10 years ago, most of the DMs, the pro DMs that there were around to watch were the ones who worked for Wizards, like Chris Perkins, or Jeremy Crawford, and that sort of thing, and just seeing how they did things, and the way they did it for entertainment, and those guys who had written the rules were willing to bend the rules, and to make things fun. And so that it was definitely good to learn from them. And obviously, since then, actual play campaigns online have exploded with Critical Role and Dimension 20 and that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually um, I don't find I have the attention span for a whole 3.5 hour, 4 hour Critical Role session. Um, but I definitely check in every now and then, and you know get a feel for it, and see some of the techniques that they use and things like that. And anytime you play in someone else's game, you can learn from it and incorporate some of the tricks of the trade. So
Right.
yeah, I would encourage anybody who wants to break it, whether you want to become a DM, or uh, become a pro DM. You know, try out some of the games for some of the people who seem to know what they're doing, and you can always learn stuff. No matter how many games you put in, you can always learn things from from another GM for sure.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to sidestep just a little bit from this next set of questions, and we're going to talk about your philosophy on game mastering. Um, how do you balance narrative storytelling with player agency? And people, this is kind of subjective, but balanced narrative storytelling is kind of like some people might call it railroading light versus free agency, where they have complete freedom to do what they want in an open sandbox. How do you balance that for your campaigns?
Um, I th- I think to a large extent, uh, the the narrative is the player agency. So
Okay, how so?
players are constantly. I was telling this to the players. They actually players are constantly signaling to you what kind of game they want, and if you give them two options, say a darker option or a more heroic option, they'll take it, and they might not realize that they're doing, but it's always a two-way process. It's always the DM should always be paying attention to what they're telling you about what kind of game they want. If they put in their backstory that they want to fight giants, that's a signal. Or that giants are their main enemy. That's a signal about what they want to see, what they want to play. And the choices they make in the game, you know, tell you more about what they want to get into, what they want to see, and how they want to interact with the world. And so you can adjust your presentation to do that. And sometimes I'll do that. I'll just put a signpost in the game that says you can take the game this way or you can take the game that way. And I'm not always good at being transparent about that, and sometimes there's value in doing that and saying, look, this is a turning point. You can go this way, you can go this way. It's going to be this kind of campaign or this kind of campaign, and they might not realize all of the implications of the choices, but they're 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 defining what they want their game to be like.
Okay, fair. Um, what's your approach to dealing with challenging or disruptive players on your table?
I generally try to deal with things between sessions as much as possible, um, and talk to a player about what has happened. Um, Sometimes if there's a disruption, uh, it's a good practice to say, let's pause a minute. That's actually a tip from Mike Shea, the lazy DM. He calls that like a really important tool, and to say let's pause a minute and just address what's going on, and that kind of and that makes a real clear break between in character and out of character,
Mm-hmm.
and let's step back for a second and figure out what's happening and how we want the game to go. And uh, people generally respond well to that, especially in a paid game. I should say that this approach that I'm talking about is specific to paid games.
Sure.
There's parts of it that translate to personal games, but in a paid game, my philosophy is that people have stressful jobs and stressful weeks, and they're paying me to deal with the difficulties, so they don't have to. People don't want to be in managing conflicts, or being in forced mediation or something like that. it's my job to take care of that thing. And if a player doesn't, if they double down and say no, this is the way I want to play, then sometimes I have to tell them that you know maybe this game's not for you, and you need to move on.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
yeah.
This next question kind of piggybacks off the first one on the philosophy of game mastering. I really should rearrange this, but do you think a game master should prioritize the story, the rules, or the player's enjoyment, and why?
I would definitely rank the rules third in that group of three.
Okay.
The rules are there to provide a framework for the other two things. The story is how you draw the players in and give them a chance to make meaningful choices, and it's having choices that are interesting and meaningful and have impact on the story that lead to the enjoyment. And if players feel like have they don't have meaningful choices to make, or they're not being listened to, or the choices that they make don't matter, and and the the story's going to happen regardless of what they do, then people get disengaged really quickly.
Okay.
So people have to feel like they're the center of it, and if they make a choice, if they a decision in the story that 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 it really matters, and that's where the enjoyment comes from. Um, you know, my my sort of theory uh, is that a lot of people don't get a chance to be creative through the week, really creative in their jobs. Whatever your job might be, and to be in a role playing game where you're actively creating the story that you go. Like for some people, and me included, like that's like the most creative you get to be through your week. That's when you're creating things on the fly, and just and it's that's a real release when during your week you don't get to be creative.
Okay. Um, with as many games as you have under your belt, professional games, how do you create a sense of immersion for your players? How do you get them to really bite?
Um, I there's a lot of different ways that I do that. Um, one of the one of the things that I really try to foster is a sense that no one has perfect knowledge. So I'll employ in a VTT, I'll employ whispers a lot. So one person gets a piece of information that other people don't have, and it's their uh, job to share it. And it also means that some people can have things going on that the rest of the party isn't aware of, and like I love that sort of stuff. I find that really makes people feel immersed, and think in from the perspective of their character, and not just the player. Um, and as far as how that uh, relates to the rules, what I do is I keep the rules pretty much rules as written,
Mm.
and and avoid house rules as much as possible. And uh, the reason is because people, for one thing, I've got to be able to keep track of it. So if I've got different house rules in different campaigns, like that just isn't isn't workable. But if I keep it to rules as written, a player can move from campaign to campaign and from DM to DM and know what to expect. And I try to make sure. And so But the one thing I tell people is if you want to bend the rules, then describe something awesome. Tell me something cinematic, something cool that you're doing in order to bend the rule. If you if you're looking at the grid and you're one square short of getting to that orc that you're trying to attack, describe something awesome. Like you know, you know, and they'll tell you, I go into an awesome shoulder roll to give me the bit of extra movement to jab him in the ribs, and that little bit of freedom gets people thinking about the environment. Looking for the chandeliers to swing at, and looking for a chair to throw at the bad guys. And when my players tell me that they feel like they could try stuff in the game, I take that as a huge compliment.
You should.
I get a lot of satisfaction
Absolutely.
from that.
Absolutely.
I've been in games before where you feel like you're really hemmed in, and it's just the grid, and it's just the rules, and that takes away that sense of immersion and feeling like you're in an action movie, which is kind of what I go for.
Okay. You definitely have a vision, it sounds like. That's great. Okay, so this is the most controversial question you're going to run into in this interview. All right?
Okay.
You ready for this? What is your stance on fudging dice rolls as a game master?
I don't put a lot of thought into it. I don't think. I roll plenty of secret rolls, and I'll see secret rolls, or I'll see rolls, and it's not so much a matter of fudging the dice roll. It's seeing the roll and deciding what it means after the fact, and yeah, because I want to keep the story fresh, keep things tense, and if nudging what happens a little bit makes things more exciting, then then who cares? It's making things fun is the primary goal. So yeah, I don't give it. I just don't give it a lot of thought.
Okay.
I just what does the story mean right now? What is that done? Now at the same time, I should say at the same time, I will leave things up to the dice all the time. And as an example, if an enemy's got 3 different players to attack, sometimes I'll just roll, and I'll roll in front of them so that they know that that I'm not picking on anybody. It's just this is what the dice said, and so people definitely get the feeling that I'm not that I'm not even that I'm being impartial, but that I'm on their side. I want them things to be exciting. I want them to succeed. I want them to have awesome fun doing awesome things.
Very cool.
That's what I go for.
All right. So we're going to shift this set of questions. We're going to talk about your approach to creating worlds, crafting narratives, and things of the sort. How do you approach world building in your campaigns? Do you start from the top down, or is it the bottom up? So top down means you have a big map and you kind of choose a spot, and this is where everybody's going to start from. Or bottom up is like, okay, we start in our village and you spread out from there in your story. What works best for you?
So the short answer, and I'll expand on this, but the short answer is I don't.
Okay.
I don't create worlds. I work from pre-written campaigns, and I will blend and mix different parts of different campaigns.
Okay.
But I don't feel the need to create things from scratch. I don't think I could create things that are as cool as what is published by different role playing companies. if I look at the Midgard World Book from Kobold Press, well, that why would I try to create a world when that one is like so rich and so detailed, and I know that a lot of people get a lot of satisfaction from that. Um, but the way I enter a campaign is I you know if I can't show people what's exciting about this pre-written campaign, then I don't know if I should be doing this. Like
Okay.
when a player sees a new player sees a troll for the first time, and you know and they get that reaction of what do you mean it's regenerating? That sort of you have to, all this stuff is new to players, and I I get just so much enjoyment and satisfaction from the players experiencing it. I I'm not worried about getting to express myself in a in creating a setting. I don't need that in order to get a sense of wonder from the players. Um, when it's new to them, everything is new and everything is awesome and everything's exciting. So I guess I'm very player centered in that way,
Okay.
and it's not my story; it's their story reacting to the new stuff that's put in front of them.
All right.
How I look
Does this also apply to the way that you create and implement your NPCs?
at it. Yeah, I guess I will tip with NPCs. I go with what's on the page, and uh, give it give it my own spin, and um, I find it easiest to sort of improvise with how an NPC reacts and acts by uh, picturing someone from a fictional character, or even an actor, as similar to them as how they act. You might have a Death Knight and realize he's kind of like Darth Vader, and you don't tell the players that's what you're doing, but it's easy to improvise that attitude if you've got that in the back of your mind.
Sure.
And and it could be anybody, it could be anything, but if you can sort of picture someone that they're similar to, you know it could be. I had a character once, and when I was playing, and I realized we rolled ability scores, and he had an 18 intelligence and a 5 wisdom. I was like, how the heck do I play this? And then I realized, oh, he's Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang.
There we go.
I didn't tell people that's what I'm doing, but that just, you've got a template to work from. You've got a framework. You can sort of give the character, and that it was a player character in that case, but you can give an NPC that that framework, and then it just sort of comes out, because you've seen it before. You know how they act, and you can lay that under uh, an NPC in the game, and make it seem like they're someone that's like living to the players.
Okay. Um, how do you incorporate your players' backstories into the larger campaign? Can you do that, especially if you're dealing with pre-made material?
Oh yeah, for sure. If Usually there's one thing in their background that that you can look, and it's like I was saying before. They're signaling to you what they would like to see in the campaign,
Hmm.
and so if you can drop that in somewhere, an NPC from their background or a story goal that they have, if you can at least get that one thing in there, they'll feel like that they're part of the world and part of the story. And there are a couple. Some publishers are particularly good at that. There's Arcanum Worlds, who publish Odyssey of the Dragonlords and Raiders of the Serpent Sea. Though I love those campaigns because they've got epic paths or epic backgrounds, where when the player picks one of those and it comes uh, with goals within the story that
Okay.
are like really tightly integrated into the story and into the setting, and it gets players, it really gets players stuff to sink their teeth into, and they even come with with magic items that they will find along the way that are again related to the story, related to the background, and it yeah, I just find they really just make the story that much richer, and taking those ideas and pouring them over to other campaigns really makes those richer as well.
All right. Um, we're going to 180 to a different set of questions, and these questions are geared towards people like me, the wannabe GMs, the new persons out there, or the ones that are considering getting involved with this. So one of the first questions we have is, what does the day of a pro GM look like? What does your typical day look like?
Well, with uh, being a pro GM, you have to sort of make peace with the fact that you're going to sort of be on a schedule, sort of like a bartender, where there's a lot of evenings. There could be late nights. Um, it may involve sleeping in because of that. Uh, but as far as the off game time, um, I get a lot of time that I can devote to prep, and uh, prep is never wasted for me, because when you're running a home game and you've got a map that you want to set up, um, you're gonna use it. You're gonna use it one time, and you're probably never gonna use it again. But when I do prep, I can always reuse my maps because if it's a generic road in the snow
Hmm.
with some bushes, and I do a bit of extra preparation with that map and defining line of sight and things like that, I'm going to get to use that map over and over again. And uh, even if it's a map that is specific to a campaign, I know that eventually I'm going to run that campaign again. And so I put extra effort into the preparation because I know it's going to be reusable for me.
Okay.
And uh, and so you know that I'm able to spend, because I'm full time. I'm able to spend time on that every day, and put time into the sound, and to the effects that I put on maps and stuff like that. And so I'm just constantly making my library of maps and sounds and animated tokens and things like that. I'm just constantly building that up to make try to make the experience uh, more and more, richer and richer for the new players that come along.
Okay. What does your business model look like? I know that with as many games as you've got and how it rolls and stuff, you know, I take it that with 1,600 games on your belt and stuff like that, this must be pretty lucrative, at least to some degree, correct?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was enough that I, had a good salary job with benefits and everything like that, and I'm making enough doing this to cover what I lost, when I left that government job. So yeah, it's turned out pretty well. You always feel like it'd be nice to be making a bit more, but that could be true of any job.
Very true.
Um, but as far as a uh, business model, um, start playing takes care of most of the the advertising that a DM needs to do. Um, but and so where I put the effort into promotion is actually with my existing players,
Hmm.
because when people, it's so much easier to get one of my existing players to sign up for a new game, or to roll over from one campaign to another campaign. Um, excuse me. That's where most of my signups come from, are from the players that I already have.
Interesting. Very cool.
And the players that come in, new players that come in from start playing, uh, are they help to keep things steady, because there's always players that go away, or their schedules change, and so you do need some new players coming in, but most of my business is repeat business.
Okay. That says a lot about the quality of games that you're running, especially you got people that are continuing with you. That's really cool. How many games a week do you run?
I'm at about a dozen right now,
Okay.
and I'm interested in trying to get up to more like about 15. Um, but it's tricky to try to get games going during the day, during the week. There's a lot fewer players uh, in North America who are looking to play at that time.
Okay.
There are plenty, but it games don't fill as quickly during during the week, during the day.
Gotcha. Um, Ballpark, give an idea of what a person can make. Like I said, I'm not asking for your specific information, but you know, what can a person? I know it starts like anything. You got to build it up. You got to build up your clientele. But after a few years of doing this, and you've got as many games under your belt and stuff like that, I mean, can a person make pretty good money doing this? I mean, I guess it's all subjective, but what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, you can do the math if you go around to uh, different people on the website, and you can extrapolate from what they're charging, and sort of figure it out. So if you look at someone and they are charging $30 a seat, and they're averaging uh, say 5 seats
Hmm.
a campaign, and they're running, in my case, a dozen games a week, uh, you can pretty quickly extrapolate out what they're making, and you can definitely do okay. Like I when I set my rates, it was based on what I need to be able to earn to be able to do this full time, and to be a professional about it. So my games average about $30, depending on the length of the session, when and
Real
when
life, folks.
when it happens during the week, and that sort of thing. Um, but definitely, you can, if you're consistent, and your games are filling, you can definitely make between 1,000 and 1,500 a week US.
Okay.
With if you're, you know, like I said, if things are consistent and you keep at it and you're able to commit to it full time, that's completely attainable. Um, and I work. I'm Canadian, so um, I get paid in U.S. dollars, and so the the strength of the U.S. dollar has an effect, and so I'm actually getting a better rate right now because the Canadian dollar has fallen against the American dollar, and so it gives me a bump. The downside of being Canadian is that I have to pay HST, which is our sales tax, and according to the rules, uh, I have to pay HST as though every one of my players were also Canadian, even though I know that you know 3/4 of them are definitely not.
Right.
But it's a little a little bit a little bit of technical stuff. But um, when you start playing, takes care of all the transactions. So I don't see credit card numbers. I don't see addresses. I don't see any of that stuff, and so I have no way of proving to Revenue Canada that I'm not charging, or that my players are not Canadian, and so the default assumption is that they are.
Got it.
So, yeah.
All right. That's fair. Um, do you have as much fun running games now as professionally as you did when you were running them for friends?
Yeah, I would say for sure. Um, it's different with the home game and with friends. If I was playing with in a home game with friends, and my players were getting drunk, then you know I would usually find them highly amusing and and laugh at them and this sort of thing. But it's a different environment when you're a playing running a pro game, because there's different expectations. Um, I definitely when when I was first starting out, a thing you got to think about is, am I going to get burnt out? Am
Hmm.
I going to stop enjoying the game? And um, some people find running a game draining, and it takes a lot out of them. I have found that running a game energizes me, and the more games I run, the more games I want to run, and it and in that way, uh, my mind just, if I'm running a bunch of games, I just get, my mind's running about what am I going to run next. I'd
Hmm.
love to run a new system. I'd love to run this campaign. I'd love to try something new, and I I find that I feed off of it. And so if you're someone who's the opposite way, where you do a good job, but it drains you and sort of takes that energy away, you're gonna have to be really careful about your schedule. And I get tired, you know, like if it's late at night and I've run 4 games in a day, which I have done occasionally, I wouldn't recommend it. Um, then you know, I'll I might my energy might not be as high, and the synapses may not be firing at the same rate. But I'm still having fun. I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still it's still charging me up. My wife, you know, she she hears me in here, at 11 o'clock at night our time, just laughing out loud, and she's always amazed at that to hear how much fun I'm having sometimes when I'm working.
That's amazing. Okay, you kind of touched on this earlier, but I'd like you to unpack this a little more. What are your players? What are paying players' expectations? What are you seeing that they're looking for?
Hmm. The when a player is paying for a game and they're looking for a game to pick, I think the number one thing that the number one factor is actually time.
Okay.
So you might see if you're browsing games on Start playing, you might see the most fantastic game, but if it's in the middle of your the work day, uh, you can't play it. And if it's in the middle of the night for you and that doesn't work for you, you're never going to play that game. So players can only play when they can play, and so part of your job as a pro GM is to offer the games that people want to play when they want to play them, and that's a big part of the game, of the battle,
Bartender
whatever it
hours.
bartender are, and so the next thing is consistency. So when they commit to that game, the big thing they want is they want to know if they show up that there's going to be a game, and if the games are getting canceled, or it's a group where uh, you know half the players can't make it most of the time, then and if they don't get to play, then that's a huge factor. So you've got to be when you know being a pro DM, you've got to be consistent. You've got to be professional. You have to be ready. You have to be you have to be able to deliver. And if you if you can't deliver, players aren't going to stay around.
Okay.
That's that's the number one thing.
Sounds like it's also the
And
bottom line.
the yeah, good way to put it, the bottom line.
Right.
And uh, and so the and when once those things are in place, then you can focus on the quality of the game, and the energy and the pacing, and the quality of your prep, and all those other things. There are plenty of amateur DMs who have a fantastic quality of the game. Um, but a big part of what a pro DM is getting paid for, it seems a little redundant, but you get paid for professionalism,
Mhm.
to make sure that you're ready to go, you're always there, you're ready to play the game. I hardly ever get sick, so you know that consistency is huge. If the yeah, I've said it already, but if they don't get to play, then that's they're not going to stick around.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, we're going to shift this next set of questions to the role of online TTRPG community. So I just got a few questions on there. You've kind of addressed some of these things, but the ones that I think would be interesting is how has the rise of actual play content and streaming impacted the way you approach game mastering? You mentioned the online things that the episodes that you watch and things of the sort. How has that influenced you?
Um, so thinking back to when I first started watching narrative play, or actual play,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the big revelations back then is like how funny it could be. How much how you know how it could be an exciting game and hilarious. And that was an eye opener, because some people prefer a game that's super serious, and um, you want there to be stakes. But also, people want to laugh, and people want to laugh with and at the other players, and and it doesn't take long for a group to that's been together to be to be sort of teasing each other and joking around together, and that's that's the fun part to me. Being able to have something in a game that just takes you so by surprise, and you laugh partly through the fun and partly because of just the surprise and joy of it. And so I'm just thinking about what other ways that might have impacted my approach.
Well, actually,
I
this
guess
might actually go into the next question then too. Seeing as how you've actually with 1,600 games for your belt and stuff like that, doing this as long as you have, I'm sure you've talked to other people too. But what advice would you give to aspiring GMs looking to make a name for themselves in this? How would you recommend for some of the guys to what would you recommend to be successful? I know you've talked about being consistent and things of the sort, but is there anything advertising wise or any other ways that you can think of that would help a person be able to grow their community?
um well, definitely definitely keep like I was saying, that keep a focus on your existing players, and making sure that you're running the best games possible for them, and creating if it's on your Discord server, creating a community where it's positive, and people can share stuff about about their day to day, and and uh and feel like it's a place where they can come and hang out and have fun. um like you said, consistency is a big one. And you gotta, like I was saying, you have to run games that people want to play when they want to play them. That's one of the hugest things you can do. If you play a if you want to run a really obscure system, and
Point system gaming, baby.
it's gonna be a tougher road,
Yes.
to hoe. It's gonna be harder. You're gonna be swimming against the current,
All right,
and
and you're right.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
what's your vision for the future of tabletop RPGs, and how do you see yourself contributing to the evolution?
um, future. Well, I mean, AI is out there.
Okay.
That's increasingly uh, what folks are hearing about all the time. It's hard to picture that 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 we could be replaced. Um, but you know, but when uh, emotional intelligence is such a big part of being a DM, it's hard to feature that uh, that AI could replace a human DM. Um, but it seems like as it improves, it'll get to be a a more and more, the value of it as a tool may increase, whether it's generating story ideas, or names of NPCs, or that sort of thing,
Hmm.
whatever that happens to be. Um, I I try to stay away from AI generated art. I all of my banners for all of my games are commissioned from illustrators that I've worked with. Um, so there's that. I'm. It's hard to say how D&D is going to change in the next several years. Um, Hasbro seems to keep keep making mistakes make things harder on the people at Wizards of the Coast. um, and I think people were ready. I think for a sixth edition. Sixth edition would have been a hit if they had, pulled all that nonsense with the licensing and trying to run the third party companies completely to the ground, and just if they hadn't thrown a grenade into the whole industry, then they could have they took the wrong lesson from that, and they could have gone with sixth edition and just still supported third party producers by having licenses that made sense and made sense for them to keep supporting D&D. Sixth edition, what's the 2024 version could have been sixth edition and could have been a big hit.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll recover from that.
Oh, I think they will. I think that it's pretty bulletproof as far as longevity. You're right, man. Given enough time and opportunity, they can find a way to screw it up. So, well, listen, Scott, that's all the questions that I've got right now. I want you to go and take a couple minutes, just talking to the audience out there. Plug your projects, plug your games, plug different things. You got a Discord server, different things, and I can put I'll put your player profile on the bottom there to for people to click on and stuff like that. But talk to me about what you got going on, man.
Well, I've always got several games that are available for people to sign up for. If you come to my profile, I've got a variety of D&D campaigns. Almost exclusively run D&D, and the players that I've gained over the years are players who are really interested in D&D and haven't been that interested in other games over times. But if you are new to the game, if you are looking to get into it, I love being able to take people through it and introduce them to a world that they may not be familiar with, but that they're super curious about. And there's always a new campaign to play, and if you sign up for one of my games, you're gonna have fun with other cool people. I guess that's the long and short of it.
Very cool. Well, listen, Scott, I want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to visit with us on Behind the Grind. This has been enlightening. Learned a lot, and I think that people plugging into this will also be able to pick up a lot of great insights that you've shared with us. I know I've picked up some things, and as I'm listening to you, I'm kind of writing things down, stuff like that. Need to do this, need to do that. So, again, folks, we're going to go ahead and sign off here at this point. But like I said, if you enjoy what we're doing, like I said, roll a natural 20 on that like button, cast share on your friends, and subscribe to avoid the DM's wrath. We love having you guys out there. Communicate with Scott and I down in the comments and stuff like that. If you got questions, if you need clarification, if you got suggestions of different questions to see out there, we're looking for input. I know, like anybody else, Scott's always looking for the longevity and the security of his players and his games, and is wanting to grow it. And I applaud him and people like him that are taking the time and taking the risks on themselves to get into these games and run these things. So, Scott, thank you again. I do appreciate you.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, guys, take care. God bless. Have a great day.